Welcome to The Critique. Today I am bringing another episode of Afua Rose the Manslayer and her moist male supporters. Let us expose the idiocracy of the Black feminist movement. A movement which main purpose is to bring division and destruction to the Black family by destroying the man, his image, and remove his manhood into a weak, non-producing shadow of what the Most High had created him to be.
Let's talk about Black feminism. It's remarkable to me that feminism is so despised. Black feminists are expected to spend our lives battling misinformation. We're supposed to be apologetic for something that has not only done enormous good for Black communities, but that is literally changing the world. All that arguing about stuff that is completely obvious diverts our attention away from the work that Black feminism does and has done. Instead of trying to corner Black feminists with false claims, y'all need to be thanking us, because centering Black women's lives and work didn't create a selfish movement or system of belief. Black women theorizing and working from their experiences enabled them to create a framework of knowledge that is incredibly inclusive. We all owe the OG Black feminists so much for taking the time to work through the complexities of our relationship to empire. They taught us that it's not just race or class or gender. It's race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, and more all at the same time. And that means that we all have to be in the fight. It's Black feminists who most clearly articulated that all systems of oppression are linked. Bell Hooks named it white supremacist capitalist patriarchy. Patricia Hill Collins calls it the matrix of domination. And you've probably heard the term intersectionality. Kimberly Crenshaw coined it in 1989. It's meant to highlight how experiencing multiple oppressions can actually render you invisible within oppressive systems. And what's most frustrating is that within Black communities, Black women get scapegoated for these interlocking systems of oppression. For example, racism and economic exploitation are the reasons why Black men don't have access to the economic opportunities that might allow them to fulfill traditional roles of masculinity. So Black women have to step in as primary caretakers and financial providers and protectors and etc. And we do that and still get degraded. We're accused of intentionally perpetuating a matriarchy. And when Black feminists push back against that, folks get mad at us instead of the systems that are responsible. And often when those who are against feminism and womanism talk about Black unity, they're talking about the restoration of some mythic Black masculinity narrowly defined. What they're aiming for is to get the remnants of white supremacist capitalist culture. Black feminists are looking to change the stakes. So what does this work even look like? It looks like the fact that there are no contemporary conversations about social justice that have not been influenced by the work of Black feminists. And the kicker is that even as Black feminism has grown and evolved, Black feminists haven't abandoned Black men en masse. While they're doing all of this extra work to make sure that every single member of the community gets treated as fully human, they're still participating in communities and social movements that devalue them. The people who argue that Black feminism is anti-Black men miss how the work of Black feminists is central to social movements that end up centering Black men anyway. Angela Davis, for example, is an iconic Black feminist and noted prison abolitionist. That movement has centered the over-incarceration of Black men. And let's talk about Black Lives Matter, a movement begun by 3 Black feminists. And I'd argue that it is the most inclusive movement for racial justice ever. We absolutely don't get to Black Lives Matter without a framework that recognizes the interactions of multiple systems of oppression. With that being said, the most visible actions around Black Lives Matter still center cisgender, heterosexual Black men. When we employ Black feminist theory, we see clearly how race and class collide to make men like Mike Brown, Alton Sterling, and Philando Castile particularly susceptible to fatal police interactions. These aren't people that the civil rights movement would have taken to the streets for half a century ago. When the New York Times referred to Mike Brown as no angel, the backlash was swift, because this is a movement about systemic injustice, not perceived personal failures. And it's global. Folks are saying Black Lives Matter around the world. And while all this is happening, Black women are still experiencing domestic violence and sexual assault at disproportionate rates. There's an ongoing battle to have that recognized. enemies, but black feminists are the enemy. And we haven't even gotten into the work that black feminism does to deconstruct the paradigms of masculinity that keep black men in straitjackets. Y'all can't cry, you can't hug, you can't be affectionate, you can't wear open-toed shoes, you can't eat ice cream or bananas. Don't y'all want to be free? Scholar Erinette White explained the trade-off that black men make when embracing patriarchy. Their collusion inadvertently compounds black men's suffering because whatever patriarchal dividend they derive from the subordination of black women, and women in general, is a trade-off for their own subordination to white men. And even as a woman who believes deeply in feminism, I realize that we're not perfect. We're fallible. It's okay to criticize us. But if you're going to criticize, come correct. Don't come in a way that seeks to maintain sexism or classism, homophobia or transphobia. Anyways, the point is, black feminists past and present deserve way more credit than we get. Because despite the fact that we know that we're going to get hit with the most disgusting forms of misogynoir from people who have not engaged the scholarship or the activism, we keep showing up. You're welcome. Hi guys, it's Kim. Be sure to check out the books and the articles that I mentioned, like and share this video, and if you learned something, leave a tip.
We have been advancing the cause of white women ever since the women's movement. The women's movement was a movement for white women. They might as well have been wearing placards that said, "Black women need not apply." And that was only allowed to happen is because we wanted to stop the civil rights movement. And white men went along with that in order to put a stop to the civil rights movement. As long as we're talking about the rights of white women, then we don't have to talk about the rights of people of other colors. As far as I'm concerned, that's what the women's movement was about. Now there's going to be another women's movement. You need to realize this. If you haven't read Ben Wattenberg's book, The Birth of Earth, you need to realize that in this country right now, we've got a whole lot of white folks who are scared to death because they know that within 30 years, white people will have lost their numerical majority in the United States of America. And if you haven't read that book, in which he says, the biggest problem confronting this country today is there are too few white babies being born in this country. If we don't solve this problem and solve it quickly, white people will lose their numerical majority, and this will no longer be a...
This is just a little feminist shade. I'm just throwing a little feminist shade real quick. Real black feminist shade coming right now. I don't necessarily consider myself a black feminist because in my mind, feminist associates with whiteness and white women. I think we as black women helped to build feminism, helped to get white women their rights, but I believe it also falls short when it comes to defending and recognizing African Americans when we aren't needed for their advancement. We need black men for the problems in black society. Now, if you're on my channel, then you know that white supremacy is to blame for the problems in the black community. So they believe that black men are the #1 killers of black women in America. Because sometimes you just can't argue with stupidity. Trying to argue with crazy will just make you crazy. Leading cause of death of black men. I'm going to just read the top 3. Heart disease, cancer, unintentional injuries. I'm assuming maybe like gunshots or whatever, you know, shit happens in the hood. And 4, stroke. Leading cause of death of black women in the United States. I'm going to read again the first 4. Okay? 1, heart disease. 2, cancer. 3, stroke. 4, diabetes. I'm going to just keep going down the list. 5, Alzheimer's. 6, chronic respiratory disease. 7, unintentional injuries at 3.2%. 8, kidney disease. And that's it. That's as far as we're going to go. According to this, the #1 killer of black women or black men in the black community as our diets, not each other. Are black women attacked more than any other race by their men? Now, I'm gonna say no. In the black community, whether we want to acknowledge it or not, us women are elevated. We are the breadwinners. We have more power in our homes, in society. We are just on top of black men. That's just what it is. We are on top of our men. In the white community, their men are on top of them. They dominate them. We don't get dominated as much as a white woman might, or Asian women. I mean, like Arabs, like they get stoned. They get stoned. Okay? For like saying no. Mexican women, Hispanic women, their husbands have an unusually high number of like instances of where they rape their wives. Honestly, as a black woman compared to other women, I feel safest. I don't have to worry about my father not being happy with me and stoning me to death, or honor killing me. I don't have to deal with, I'm from Crown Heights. In Crown Heights, I grew up seeing a lot of Jewish girls like disappear. I'm gonna assume they went to Israel because they did something their parents didn't like, and they were shipped their asses off to the Middle East. That doesn't happen in the black community because black men aren't allowed to have this power. Black people aren't allowed to have power anyway, especially black men. They've created a system where us black women run our race. We run shit. We're the most educated. We run our families, we run our homes. I don't know the percentage off the top of my head, but a large percentage of our black men are incarcerated. A lot of times for bullshit. So we as black women run the black community. Unlike other races, white women don't run the white community, because if they did, Hillary Clinton would have won the election. Okay? Asian women don't run their community at all. At all. Arabs, Indians, Hispanics, they don't run shit. They must do what they're told or else they might die. I'm going to say one last time, and I hope you hear me, for y'all people in the back. Black women, we have no reason to be afraid of a black man. I am not afraid of a black man walking down the street. I'm going to keep honest with you. I'm going to keep it 100% honest with you. I am not afraid to get into an elevator where there's a black man. I wouldn't be afraid to get into an elevator where there's a white man and it's nighttime. Yes, I would. That would bring fear. But like to get into my elevator in my building, 1 o'clock in the morning, and there's a black man waiting to get into the elevator to ride up the stairs. Now don't get me wrong, black men commit crimes, of course, but automatically I'm not scared as a black woman. If it was the same circumstances and I was in a building with a drunk white man coming upstairs to where frick he's supposed to be going, I probably wouldn't get into the elevator with him. I probably would wait for the next elevator to come. So this whole thing about black men being so freaking dangerous to the black woman is ridiculous. It's very damaging to our community. I feel like a lot of those women who say things like that, I think that they have their own personal trauma. They might have had a situation where a black man did do something horribly wrong to them, and that black man was fucked up and they need to be angry at him. It shouldn't be I was raped, this happened, that happened, so now I hate all black men. All black men didn't do it to you. That one motherfucker over there did that shit to you. And that motherfucker over there, you need to put a foot in his ass or... Let me calm down. Let me calm down. I'm about to get turned. Let me calm down. But, yeah, I think we need to hold people accountable. I believe that, yes, there is problems, systematic problems in the black community. Rape, incest. All of these are systematic problems in the black community. And we need to deal with these problems for what they are and not try to open some wide umbrella to encompass everybody and everything that is male and black, because that's a dangerous thing to do, and that rhetoric is tired. So again, that's all I got for you. And I'll see you next video, and as always, I hope you live your life like it's golden, because there's no other way to live it.
My people suffer through lack of knowledge. When both black men and black women was held subject to slavery, how can you today have a separation of black man and black women? Literally at each other's throats. That makes no sense. It is nonsense and nonsensical to think as a nation of people you can rise without both man and woman building the family first. A community is a community of households, not a community of single parents. That is not power. Please subscribe, hit the bell notification and like this video. I have been Zawadi the Critique.